Hello, good day. Once again, this is Eric, and today I'm going to show you on how to insert a data onto our database. So here I have created a database called alias.db. So if we would like to add data from this database, we need to create a table. For example, the table would be info, and let's have just two columns, one for the ID and one for the name, for example. So the ID would be the primary key. It's an integer data type, and let's have 10 here, and let us auto increment that one. Okay, so this can be course ID or any ID, just to show that is counting incrementally. And let's have another variable name called name, and be sure that this should be a variable character, and with a length of 50. Then click save. Here we got an ID column, then name column under this table called info. Now if we would like to connect that to our PHP program, so to do that is let's create a form for us to allow those variables. Let's have an input for the name first here, then that type would be text. Of course, we should put a name. The value of this name should be uh, the same as whatever be the value of your input into our database. So what I mean is that we need to place in the value of name here, so that when we call that into our database, it should be this string here, variable username. Now let's have an input type for submit, because when we submit this entry, register entry, then that should be go to an action. So it will go to another PHP file. Then let us name this as register. Okay, so let us save this and see the result here. So I got the value of my name here, for example Rico, and click register. So you can see nothing happens. But if we would like to create an action going to our file, let's say I'd like to go to your welcome.php, then what would be the method? Method would be post, as compared to get. Post is more secured if you're dealing with the password. But for now, let me use post to post whatever be the username or the name I would want to display into the welcome.php. So let's create a file called welcome.php and paste that in your web page. Okay, I got a welcome.php. Then let's have a tag for that matter, HTML. Okay, HTML. Then of course the head, it's not case sensitive, so it's okay with this uppercase. Then within that head would be the title if you would want to, but for simplicity let's just have something like this. Okay, let's say oops, I am low, but wait for a moment please. Okay. Now let's display something. So welcome, and we would like to display something like let's make it bigger. Okay. Let's display an output. So echo would be the value of your post. Okay, and that post is whatever be the name that we have specified here. So the name that we would like to post is the username. So just place in here, then end that with semicolon, and don't forget we have the starting tag for PHP, then that should be also terminated. So let us see once again. Let me put in here alias register. So as you can see, it comes out to another file called welcome. But if I would want alias to be stored in my database here under the table info, then that would be another code. To do that one, let us work on, of course, include another PHP file here. So in our PHP file, we would insert the code that would allow us to connect to the database, of course. So for us to connect to the database, we need to specify our server name. So that would be say server name. Okay, server name. It's a variable, so you could name it anything you want. Then that would be a local host, or that is the 127.0.0.1. That's the IP address of your local PC. And if you say local host, or the IP address that you would like to use as your web server, that's the 127.0.0.1. then the username would be, of course, let's make it bigger. The username would be the username to connect you to the web server. So for now it is root. Okay, then we have also your password, if you have a password for your web server and your database server as well. For now we don't have yet. And of course the database that you would like to connect to. So what's the name of your database? Let's say I would like to connect to my database called let me check onto that. What's the name of our database? So the name of our database is aliasdb. Okay, so aliasdb. Now let me explain on here. If you notice, under my database aliasdb, there is a username called root and host name, or that's my server name actually, and I did not place any password yet here. So for you to connect this PHP file, if you would like to register, then you need to specify the connection. So this would allow us to connect to our database. So to connect to the DB or database. Now let's have a connection. We could name it as connect or con. Then how do we connect them? So there's a command in MySQL that would allow us to connect. You got here new, then my SQL improve, that's the I, then what would be our syntax? For you to connect is just simply get in the variable server name here, separated by comma, then the username for you to connect, as well as password, separated by comma as well, and the database name. Okay. Now here, let us see if this is connecting to our database. It should not show some error if we would like to. So it's connecting. How would we know if it is really connecting? We could put in some syntax called if statement. So if my connection to our MySQL is working, so to do that, if the statement connection is pointing to this class handler connect, if there are no error, then what will happen? It's built-in die function, then let's say connection failed or error, something like that. So else means if it is working, let us just display echo or print would do connected to the database, something like that. So this would check if we have a connection, and check connection. Let us see that. So it is connected. So Rico register, it's connected. So you don't need to display this one. As long as there's no error when we connect, then that would be okay. So let me just comment this everything or that way. So we were able to connect, but I wanted Rico to be stored in our database. We don't have the ID, we don't have the name, so we would like to store that one. So to do that, let us add our code to show that we have a connection. We can do that by, let us include another code here to work on adding the code that would allow us to insert a data into our database. So first, we need to declare the variable that we would like to post. So let's say we got a uname, it's the variable, and that uname would be whatever we have posted, and that is your actually value coming from here, the name. So let me copy this one and paste it here. So that's the first thing to do. Get that value and name it as uname. Then we need to create a query or the insertion of data. So let me put a variable to, let's say, store, something like that. Store, then what command we will use using SQL or MySQL. So for the SQL is just simply insert into where, so into our, of course, table. So the name of our table is info. Okay, into our info table, then what, under its column called name. So I got name here as my column. See that? Then what values we would like to insert? The value, of course, our variable uname here. Simply like that. So we are able to store the value of your info under the name column, whatever you type in your username here under this input. Then let us query. To query that one, we need to specify, of course, the command mysql query query. Then of what? We need to query by checking on our connection first, going to that database and perform inserting our values here. So this is how to query data and inserting that value under its name column and whatever the value is. So we query the database and perform storing the value of your name here. So let us save that one and let us execute Rico register. Welcome Rico. Let us see if Rico is inserted in our database under its info table. Okay, as you can see, I don't have yet data. It's coming in. So perhaps we've missed something, I think. This should be work. It should be working. Let us troubleshoot why. So I got my database connection under alias db. Then we would like to insert the value of name under the info table. Then what would be the value? The username. Oh, that's the issue. So be careful. Single quote means you're dealing with the username here. So to call that one, let's try that again. Rico register, save, then name, browse in. I got here the Rico. Okay, so we were able to insert a value of your name that contains the uname here. So whatever you type in this input. Now I saw some programs, people doing connecting to their database like this. So they do inserting the code for their server name, for their username, something like this. I'm not recommending that. Why? Because the issue here would be, what if your database has changed? What if your server name has changed? If you notice, it works, but if the password has changed and you did not change in your code, that would be the issue. So it is better to make it this way. I suggest. Okay, now what if I have another variable here, say variable for my address? I would want to create another column called address. This time, let's say name it here as your address. So in your welcome.php, if you would like to display as well of course the address here, so welcome Eric or Rico, then whatever be the address that you would like to place in here address. Okay, so you may have a separator here. So click. Let us try this. So I got name here Rico. Oops, Rico. Then Manila. Register. So welcome Rico, then Manila. That's the address. But in my database, I don't see any data for Manila yet here. To do that one, you can create another column here if you wanted to. So to create another column, just simply click here, column 1. I want another column here after the name. So it should be after the name, then click go. So I could place in here address, change the data type into varchar, make it 50 for the length. How big is the character or long? Then click save. So I got 2 columns already for the address. So if you would like to insert the value of your address to your database, so just simply put in here comma, then address. Then the values would be the username separated by comma, then that variable address. Okay. Now here, you don't have the variable for address, so just simply call in here. Okay, so this should be address. Okay, and the variable that you have called in is of course the address here. Let us try. So let us run another code. Entry, let's say alias. Address is from Pinaglabanan Street. Pinaglabanan Street. Registers. Welcome alias from Pinaglabanan Street. Let's check in our database. As you can see, I got a new data name and alias Pinaglabanan Street. So we were able to insert our code here, the value of your name, the address, and whatever string that you would like to place in your input type. So hopefully this helps you on how to link your PHP into your exam database server. And enjoy. Bye bye.